Welcome back to Live at the Loft. Terry Knight
And Kelly Guest and Kathryn
Harwig.
Yay!
Kathryn, this is a fascinating conversation. I love to speak with intuitives. I believe 100% that is, I think you're right. I think a lot of people have the ability if we just knew how to tap in. You said something earlier, something that came to you through channeling, the idea that we really can choose our emotions.
Yes.
And I've heard this in self-help books. I heard it on Oprah, and everybody's like, right, yeah, I'm feeling really sad and angry, because I think a lot of us feel like emotions just happen to us.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate on that from your perspective, maybe make it more real?
Well, yeah, I can. I mean, I'm not convinced that you can stop, like, say you're in the middle of the street and a car comes at you, that instance of fear. I'm not sure you have enough time to say, oh, wait, I don't want to be afraid. Also, I'm not sure that that would be what you would want to choose. So, I mean, however, an hour later, if you're still afraid, and a year later, if you're still thinking I can never cross the street again, that's a choice that is being made. So, I guess to elaborate on it, what I have been told is that to begin with, the first thing that we need to do is learn how to label them, figure out what it is. That's because, and then also, I'll tell you one thing that I have to do all the time is ask, is this mine or is this somebody else's? Because at least as an intuitive, and I think everyone is, I pick up on a lot of people's emotions. So if I can't trace my emotion back to something that happened to me, it's very likely not mine.
Interesting.
And I might be feeling, if you're frustrated with Henry, I might suddenly feel frustrated, and I have to go back and say, Kathryn, is there any reason for you to feel fear? Because frustration is a fear thing, and if so, what is it? And then, does it make any sense? Do you really want to choose it?
Interesting.
And the minute you do that, usually you're going to say, no, really, I'm pretty okay with not feeling frustrated right now. I really don't want to choose that. The minute you if that comes into your consciousness, it pretty much goes away.
Then does it become easier? I would imagine it's hard in the beginning, and one would really have to apply yourself to noticing, but does it come easier after?
Oh, sure. And like intuition, I mean, initially there are really some very concrete steps as to how to get intuitive information. I don't do them anymore. I mean, I probably do, but it's kind of like doing math. Maybe that's not a good example, but I mean, you had to learn it, initially, but now really,
It just is.
or walking. Watch a little kid learn how to walk. I mean, the concentration and the different, but nowadays we don't think, I think I'll walk now.
Mm-hmm.
But we do make that choice, but we're doing it so subconsciously or so automatically. Well, same thing with emotions. Eventually, it just becomes easier and easier to say, no, are you really choosing to stay in this space? Is this aiding you in some fashion? You just having fun with it? Or is it something that you want to not carry around with you? Now, do I do that all the time, and am I perfect at it? No, but their point, at least, or like this point, is that we could do it all the time.
Wow. So you mentioned feeling other people's emotions. What is that like as you go through a crowd?
I want to say that I am very perfect at not doing that, but the truth is, it can be very uncomfortable. And so I will admit to staying away from certain places because the emotions, highly emoting places, there are some places that people really emote a lot, like airports, hospitals, the state fair. Trade shows, you walk in, there's so many people, and it's so, and it's tricky to try to do that sorting through, and so sometimes bars, sometimes I will choose not to go to those places just because it's easier to stay at home than it is to keep going, oh, it's her that wants to, I remember being in an airport once, and it's like 7 o'clock in the morning, I had this really strong urgent drink, which, isn't me. And
me.
and I looked around, exactly, I looked around and went, oh, that's you. That's not me. That's you. It was just that sudden kind of, oh. And then it was gone. As soon as I labeled it wasn't mine, it was gone.
So I'm not really the lush. There's somebody in this building whose wine vibe I'm picking up. That must be it.
It could be it.
That's awesome. bathroom though. What an interesting, I mean, that's, I would think that, do you have any sort of armor? I mean, is there anything that you can do to consciously put a field around yourself to make it easier?
Yeah, there is, and it's just kind of intentional. And most of the time, I have people who say to me things like, well, I don't even want to be around you because you know what I'm thinking, and I tell them they're not that interesting.
Excellent psychic humor.
Yeah, exactly. It is psychic humor, but it's actually even true because, I mean, most people really, their day-to-day thoughts are just not something you particularly are, it's like listening to, I don't know what, bad TV. So you don't, my point is that if you don't focus on something, you don't see it. Like you're driving down the road, there's 1,000 cars on the road, you don't see them.
Right.
They're there, but you don't see them. The same thing with other people's emotions and thoughts. I don't sense them unless I focus deliberately on them.
And this reminds me of a conversation I had with someone about, whether ghosts exist or not. And someone asked me if I believed that they did, and I said that I chose not to deal with that because the thought that you could be in the bathroom and an entity could be there is just too uncomfortable. And then this person said, of all the things that a ghost would come and visit you to do, why would you think that they would really want to be there then? And I thought, so I'm just now starting to tackle that particular question. What's your take on the, if there is an afterlife? I mean, would you care to?
Oh, well, I know there's an afterlife, and I actually can speak on occasion to people who passed. I mean, that's not all that tricky. Assuming it's kind of like the telephone thing we were talking about earlier, assuming they want to talk.
Okay.
I don't consider those to be ghosts. They're spirits who've moved into, well, I call them spirits, but the people who have been here who have now moved into a different dimension, this the Bakaba thing again, I can find that dimension as well. The word ghost, here's you're going to be surprised at this. I don't believe particularly in ghosts myself, because the word ghost implies that somebody died, their spirit was stuck here,
Right.
and then the people who do ghost busting claim that they can go send them to the light, and I think most people find light perfectly well by themselves. Thank you very much, but I don't think that happens very often. What I think happens in this building, for example, is full of energy loops. Places where people have had a lot of emotion, they've done a lot of stuff, and it's almost like a vortex or a black hole of something. And if you were to go stand in it, you might see something be played over and over again. If you're psychic, or if you have that, or it might feel funny, or have a different vibration, or cold, or something in the basement of this building. But those are not necessarily.
I'm on the 4th floor.
Not scary. They're not, and they can't get you because it's just an energy. It's like a movie that got stuck in a loop and keeps playing over and over again. So people say, well, there's this white woman. She comes out every night, or a woman in white comes out every night at 8 o'clock. And I go, ghosts don't do that. Why would they do that? Why would any self-respecting spirit do the same thing over and over and over and over again? They move on. They grow. They have fun, they meet up with their relatives that have already passed, they have parties, and they hang out, they meet God, they worship, they sing, they create, they make art, and then when they're bored, they come back and do it again.
Wow. What a way to look at reincarnation. Yeah, when I get tired of, having, everything be perfect and do anything I want, I guess I'll go try that human gig again and see what I can stir up. I mean,
that's exactly right, yeah. And maybe I can learn something, maybe maybe I just miss an ice cream, I don't know. Sex.
Wow.
So we come back and then we whine about it.
That's for sure.
And on that note,
Yeah, this is a good segment.
we're going to take another break. Live at the Loft with Kathryn Harwig will be back.